time for Ask the Mayor with Beatrice Mayor Bob Morgan here on KWBE. And if you have a question, call it in to us here at KWBE, and we'll pass it along. I've been through a couple of really hot stretches and another one. And how you holding out?
Oh, we're doing fine. We're doing fine. You know, the heat seems to put a lot of pressure on everything and everybody. And you know, I think about you know, from the trade side of life. You know, gosh, the poor people that have to work on, you know, air conditioning are probably and have been very overwhelmed. So thanks to all of them. Yeah. You know, it's amazing what you go through when all of a sudden the heat goes. It's kind of like cold. Yeah. With heat and cold, things break. Yep. And hopefully we're through it. And hopefully, thank goodness, we didn't hit the storms that maybe Lincoln and Omaha got that moved through yesterday.
Yeah, we were seeing some out here last night. There were reports of 80 to 90 mile per hour winds, not too far from us, Lancaster County, and then Omaha, too. Looked like there was some tree damage and stuff, but we missed it. We were kind of right between systems. The one north of us, then into Kansas, they had some stormy weather, too.
They did.
So we were fortunate this time, I guess.
Absolutely.
We could have used some rain, but we didn't get that. We just got a little bit out of it. But you were mentioning workers during this time of year. I know there's some asphalt work's been going on in Beatrice, and I was seeing those workers out there during the 95 to 100 period there, and they had water bottles in their hands, and but that's pretty tough too.
That is, you know, there is a lot of tough outside work during those heaty days. So, yeah, absolutely. Yep, we're getting some asphalt resurfacing done continually. You know, that's one of the things that the roads that get driven a lot, they take you know, a beating. And so we're trying our best to make sure we get things in order.
The one especially on 5th Street from Ella northward, I can't remember how far it went north, maybe to the St. John Lutheran Church, I think, or right somewhere in there. Yeah. And then I think there was one on 8th Street, not too far from the courthouse, if I remember right. Were there any others? I don't recall right now.
Oh, there's been a couple of others across the town, but I can't tell you exactly where.
Yeah. But in addition to the Armor Coat, which went on earlier, that got done earlier before the big heat hit for the most part.
Right.
And anything else as far as street work this year?
I think we're probably coming, well, you know, once we get through with this, of course, there'll be always the patches and filling of cracks that'll come in the fall. I think there's a stretch also that was done with that asphalt kind of overlay down there by the trailhead. Okay. Oh, that's right. So, as 5th turns into Perkins Street, around the corner there. Right. So that looks really nice.
Yeah. Yep. Now all they have to do is stripe them, and pretty much
we're ready to go.
Done on that. Yeah. Big project on Ella Street along near the Municipal Auditorium there. That water main replacement, was that a problem area, or is that just kind of a planned thing that you knew you had to at some point take care of?
I think it's really kind of combined with the project on Ella as we redesign and put a kind of in place what a sample of what the downtown corridor could look like there on 2nd and 3rd. As we decided to do that project, originally we were thinking maybe 4th and 5th. However, when you're going to do some tear up of roads and things, it's best to go ahead and replace the water, and water rolls downhill. So that's why we moved back and started on 2nd and 3rd. And so in order to get that work done, we needed to make sure we got the water main done.
No sense in breaking into after a street after it's been done to replace water and kind of redoing things after that. So
not if we can help it.
Yeah. As far as the possible interruptions to like the food pantry and the recycling site, I assume that's kind of worked out, or you just have to kind of work around it.
Yeah, that's a workaround that we've been working through. Yeah.
The schedule on that part of Ella from 2nd to 3rd, where the bricks are at, is that coming up soon, or is that is it right after the water main project?
I think it's shortly after the water main project. We'll be starting to work on that particular area there. Yeah.
Okay. And so people get kind of a look at a new design there.
A new design, and we're at the right time to do it, because as you put that design in, you're going to find it's just like anything. A lot of times when you build something, you say, "Oh, gee, I wish I would have."
Yeah.
And so if you take a 2-block stretch and you see what you did really well that turned out well, you see what maybe didn't work, you'll be able to kind of readjust as you go through the design phase for the Court Street project.
Now, do the bricks there, they come out permanently? Is that right? Or is there going to be some combination thing down there?
That I don't know. Okay. I haven't really seen the plan, so...
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll be waiting with anxiousness to see what it looks like eventually. But yeah, that's an area that always was kind of a little bit strange there. You come out of a one-way, and then you have two-way for not even a full block.
Right.
And it doesn't make a lot of sense, I guess. But
some things that you try to clean up.
Yeah. Public open house coming up in the not-too-distant future. I think it's next week on Tuesday, if I remember right. And that's on the drainage studies that you have underway. Maybe just kind of preview what's the information. Have you gotten a look at what the consultant has kind of come up with there, or what's being looked at there?
I think, I think it's, again, both of those areas. We've got the one down near Lake Ladue, and we got the other one in north. Mm-hmm. It's really trying to take a look at how we can handle a lot of water. Mm-hmm. There are some things you just can't do, and you can do. I think there's a few projects on the north end that's going to be real easy to do. I think when you look at the Lake Ladue area that goes through Belvedere there, I think you'll find that they've got some suggestions, but as you look at that, you've got a lot of neighborhood properties, and none of those may be a cheap solution. Mm-hmm. And so you just have to determine, what can and can't be done.
Over the years, backyards in that area, and I forget where the streets are from south to north. I know it goes down to not too far from where the Big Blue River is.
Yep.
But I know during heavy rains, there was always kind of a river going down through there. So I suppose that's one of the things
That's one of the things they looked at and see if there's anything that can be solved there, and how do you work with people to get it solved if it can be?
Yeah.
And, I think it was a great opportunity to at least bring in some, because I think it was grant funded, if I'm not mistaken, part of it. And I think, at that point in time, you just kind of lay out the cards and say, okay, here's the situation.
Yeah.
And so I urge people to always go to the open houses, ask questions to particularly the people that did the study. I think in this case, was it JEO?
JEO, I think.
Yeah, because they're the experts, and they can tell you what they found as they studied both of those areas.
I know there was a little confusion at the last open house that they thought there was a formal presentation, but this is a come and go thing.
This is a come and go thing.
You don't have to be there at a specific time, just sometime between 4 and 6, I think it is, when the open house. So you can ask your questions at any time.
Correct. And typically that's how we do all open houses. Typically there's not a formalized presentation. It's an opportunity to people to come and go, and the reason that is because some people can't make it at 4. So is the time for the presentation at 5, and then people can't make it at 5, they can make it at 4. So it's really not a good time to do a formal presentation at a public open house.
Yeah.
And it also gives, I think, the public a better opportunity to walk through, maybe in not such a large crowd, to talk to the architects that actually did the plan, because that's the main goal. They'll be there, and they'll be able to answer the questions of why do you put it here, put something here versus there, and it could be as simple as, well, if you look at the slope, the water's going to gather here and not here, and so that's why you do those type of things. So
it is interesting too, over the decades, as you see a little more construction take place. Well, take for instance like the Flowing Springs area. Whenever there are new developments, that sometimes can just totally change the water pattern and drainage. And that's kind of why you look at these things, because the other thing is too, if you have more development in the future, that's then going to change how the water flows out. Absolutely.
And that's why, we have some, I guess what you would call regulations about runoff. The developer comes in. We talk about retention and detention ponds all the time. When we designed that area on Lincoln schools and in Paddock schools, you saw in design retention or detention ponds. Those are kind of built in those plans to just be a nice green space that will hold the water. But every time you do build something, the water's going to run differently.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest thing too is when you start designing, the streets and the concrete, that water's going to run off pretty quickly. There's nothing there to absorb it.
Yeah. Used to be you didn't really even have regulations on stormwater, but then kind of a combination federal, state, local, all of a sudden you've evolved into, as you mentioned, new rules you have to abide by. So
we do.
That is built into the developments.
It is built into the development. It does take space.
Yeah.
That's one of the things the developer has to keep in mind is that, maybe that detention area will take away, let's just say, 2 building spots.
Yeah.
Pretty easily. So
and there's also cost.
There's a cost.
Kind of an unfunded mandate.
That is exactly right, and it has to be done. But at the end of the day, it protects the neighbors.
True.
Because that's one of the things that I think has been historically true for centuries. If somebody builds a house beside you, you want to make sure that they have their runoff right.
Yeah.
Because they shouldn't be putting that water onto you.
Anybody who's driven at 19th and Ella during a downpour realizes what happens with water.
Yes.
In that area. It can become a little bit of a lake there. So
yeah, we still have a few of those places.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll see the storm sewers fill up and they can't take any more, and here comes the water over the street. Right. Kind of the way it is. Back with more on Ask the Mayor in just a moment with Beatrice Mayor Bob Morgan. Back on Ask the Mayor today with Beatrice Mayor Bob Morgan as we move down the list of topics here. Kind of a neat event that's coming up next Tuesday night, kind of right after or kind of during the open house. The public open house at the library is the National Night Out. It's kind of a thing that's held that's in several communities around the nation with police departments, fire departments, first responders. Kind of just a good event to meet with the public, kind of keep connections going. And I think there's going to be an event at Charles Park here.
Yes, so, yeah. There will be. And this is an annual event. And like you said, it's a great opportunity to meet your first responders, fire, rescue, police department, in kind of what I would call kind of a fun environment, and get to know who they are and they get to know you. And it's a great event I think it basically started to kind of start the kickoff to back to school.
Yeah.
And we've got back to school very shortly.
Yeah. Summer's going fast.
Summer is the tail end, even though we're going to probably have a hot August. But, at the end of the day, it's a great event. I really appreciate everybody who comes there, and I really appreciate, the fire department, the police department, and other first responders to give up their time from 4 to 7 to meet with the public and just to have a great opportunity for the kids to get to see some of the fun stuff of fire trucks and police cars and those things, at least that when I was a kid was pretty exciting to see.
Well, wanted to be a fireman at one time or a police officer, and we went different directions or whatever, but very important occupations. Though.
Absolutely. Yeah. They do a phenomenal job, and we're thankful for this event that they're going to have, and it'll be a good time.
The other thing, too, about it, one part of it was an opportunity to, if people have special needs or whatever, to register those with first responders so they know if they're, responding to a call or maybe a residence where someone has special needs, they know about that ahead of time, which can be important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That's a great opportunity to register. Doesn't matter what that need might be, but like if you have somebody who maybe is not real mobile, it's nice to know that in case there's a fire and how to get the people out. And so it's just a way to give the responders a heads up of what they're going to run into, which they can be better prepared. Yeah.
Some people, for instance, react badly to sirens or emergency lights and things like that, so that's good to know, too.
Absolutely.
When you show up at a location. So
absolutely.
That is next Tuesday night at Charles Park. Well, actually, afternoon through, I think it's 4 to 7.
Correct.
Is the time
Correct.
Here, so come on out and have some fun down there. Meet your police and firefighters. Sheriff's officers, I think, are going to be there, too.
I believe so.
Firefighters. And they're all humans just like the rest of us. They won't arrest you. They just want to meet you. So
that's right.
That's fine. Unless maybe you have an outstanding warrant, but that's a whole different matter.
I think you and I are okay there.
Yeah, we hope anyway. That's for sure. Another event coming up next, I believe it's August 8th and 9th, and that is the Tire Amnesty event, which is kind of a county-led thing, but it's with Keep Beatrice Beautiful as well, if I remember right. I think the Extension Office has been involved
they have. I think for some reason, if memory serves me right, it kind of has fallen onto the city more than it has in the past.
Okay. Right.
But it is an opportunity to get rid of all of your tires if you have them. I know that, there's a number of them around. I keep thinking that, when I get my tires changed, for some reason they keep them and they keep another $2 or $3 a tire. But that's
a disposal fee, I think.
A disposal fee of those. But, some things to keep in mind. It is for Gage County residents only. So we will be checking license plates. And what I believe we're going to do, I guess don't quote me on this, but I think the first so many hours is going to be for residential people. Because we also have a number of commercial folks that are going to come in probably and try to get rid of some tires. August 8th and 9th is kind of I'm sure the 8th is going to be probably fine. On August 9th, the only thing to keep in mind is there's a maximum tonnage, and I think it's 200
I believe.
200 tons.
Because it's grant funded, too.
Correct.
And that's part of the
It is grant funded. We thank Keep Beatrice Beautiful. They've done this for a number of years, and I think our community development folks will be there kind of helping out. So thank you to that. It is another way to keep our community beautiful and get rid of some tires that in the summertime can be a breeding ground for mosquitoes.
Yeah, they'll be checking those 3 county license plates, so none of this coming in from.
That's correct.
Well, because there might be other areas that are doing similar things with their own grant too.
Right. We hope so.
Yeah. So,
so
the other thing too, if you go on the city's Facebook page, I know it has a good kind of message on the ins and outs, how you come into the area and how you exit and like that. So
correct.
Without us getting into the nuts and bolts of it, check that and that'll give you
check the Facebook, because there is going to be a certain pattern to come in and out, and I guess it's like, well, this dates me, but I remember it was unfortunately 9/11. You really had a mad rush on fuel because you didn't know what was going on, and I remember people trying to go to fuel to a filling station, and instead of trying to wait in line, a couple would always try to, find the best way in to take a shortcut, but there won't be shortcuts. So take a look at the Facebook, and sometimes it's going to be a long wait, but that's okay. You're going to get a nice service at the end of the day.
And if I recall correctly, I think on the first day, on the 8th, it starts at noon, and on the second day, I think it's 8 or 9 in the morning.
I think so.
Right? So
yeah.
And there is that 200-ton limit. So, and also count, have a list of, or a number of how many you have, because the weight has to be figured out. And so
well, it'll be interesting to see how many tires. That's what we should have done. Should have had a contest how many tires got turned in.
Maybe a good trivia question or whatever. Maybe there's a prize out there or something.
That's right.
For it. But the max is 200 tons, so you could hit that before Friday's over.
I think almost every year they have, if I'm not mistaken. And that's pretty hard to believe, but that's a lot of tires.
Yeah, well, there's always been a mountain of them out there. We've had a few photos from the past. I know Light Paul Hay used to be involved a lot in it.
Yes.
He really marshaled this through, and I know we did some interviews with him out there, and that mountain of tires grows pretty quickly. It doesn't take too long.
No, it doesn't.
It's the fairgrounds parking lot area just north of the Speedway.
Correct.
There's where it's going to be taking place. We'll be back to wrap up Ask the Mayor in just a moment with Mayor Bob Morgan. We're back on Ask the Mayor with Mayor Bob Morgan today as we finish up things. I know one of the things that was held over the weekend was a cornerstone laying ceremony at the new elementary school that will be in operation in in the not too distant future here in about 2 or 3 weeks. I know you came in from the east side of that to get to the ceremony. So Lincoln Street's torn up and everything, of course, as that's going on. Any kind of progress report on there?
Well, they keep moving along. I think we might have talked last week about or a couple weeks ago about the bricks that are underneath there. There's some pretty massive bricks that they're getting out of there. I think that they're still targeted to get done with that over the next 2 to 3 months. I think, yes, you're right. You got to go 33rd Street to get to the new school. One of the questions that I've had several times is, what's the traffic pattern going to be? And as far as the traffic pattern, especially in the school area, I'm sure that Beatrice Public Schools will be getting in contact with all the elementary people about how and when to get your children in and out, because that's kind of their responsibility on that. So hopefully they've already put that out, or they're going to very shortly, because again, it's hard to believe, but we're marching down the road to another year of school.
Yeah, and that's a district call on how to do that. That's not a city call.
That is correct.
So,
that is a district call.
I notice when you drive in there, you see one ways kind of in
Right.
and then drive around. So I don't know if that's going to be kind of the same, or that might change a little bit. We'll see. But
Correct. That's up.
there.
That's their, I guess, instructions, because they know how to get the kids in and out safer than just us. Monday morning armchair quarterbacks.
Yeah. 19th and Lincoln, where the stoplight is going to come out because the old buildings won't be used anymore. Kind of sounds like that's getting pretty close to happening, because I know Dave Needfeld, our morning announcer, who lives kind of out toward that area, he was mentioning you kind of see the beginnings of that taking place.
Yeah, what you'll see at all the school locations is we've taking down all of the pedestrian crosswalk signs and changing the speed limits that need to be changed. As far as the stoplight, I think we're getting ready to get the stop signs up there to make that a four-way stop. I'm not sure how soon the stoplight comes down. I think first they bag it, and I think and don't quote me, but if memory serves me right from a conversation, it stays there bagged for a while, because it just draws attention that, hey, it's bagged, it's not in use, and then there's four-way stop there. And
Gets people used to the change gradually, so
Correct.
Nobody blows through the intersection and
Correct.
causes an accident there.
So just watch for that. Again, that was one of the things that came out of numerous traffic studies, is that number one, the light was not warranted, which means it's not needed. And number two, to make your intersection safest, the four-way stop is the best option other than a roundabout, and we're going to go the four-way stop.
Yeah. And the change at that one will be, since the school's no longer operating there, you won't have to be prohibited from stopping and making that right turn on the light like there used to be.
That is correct.
During school hours.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and on the council agenda coming up on Monday night, you were mentioning before the program that you have a couple of adjustments at the old school sites.
We do. I think there's a couple of speed limits that are in the neighborhood that we need to make sure we adjust to what is standard on those particular streets. Also, we will be, we had the resolutions that took off all of the designations in a school area as far as the crosswalks, pedestrians, and speeds. Now we'll go back and we have to put a resolution in there for 33rd and Lincoln Streets to put the limitations of speed and crosswalks and those type of things into that area before school starts. So I believe that's on the agenda as well.
That just jogged my memory on the one thing you did last time regarding 7th and Scott, where you were going to change the direction of the stop sign pattern there.
Correct.
Has that been made? I hadn't been by there recently.
Don't believe it's been made yet.
Yeah. The last time I was there, it hadn't been yet.
At least it hasn't in the last week. Yeah. If they did, I guess I haven't driven that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but the last time I drove it, that stop sign was still there, but it will go away.
Yeah.
But again, the good thing is, that road is pretty well stop signed up anyway.
Yeah.
And so it just made an easy transition.
Yeah, there's at least a couple of stops before you hit the water park area.
Yes, there is.
So you can't go blowing through there either.
No, which is good.
That's good, because it is a residential area there, of course. One thing before we wrap up today, just kind of an interesting thing that I didn't realize, and you were mentioning it to me before the program, the RAISE grant that you recently got. There was the question as to, how soon do you actually get the funding, and the whole process kind of begins, and contract provisions and things like that. What do you sign? What do you do to actually get the money? And it's a little bit longer process than people might realize, I guess.
Well, it's a lot longer process than what we realized. Let's put it that way, for sure. But it is a major grant. Again, it was $21 million,
21.8 or 29.3, somewhere in there.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, once it's the announcement comes out, but then there's a period of time where you work on the contract. And the federal contract, the average number of days that it takes to sign a RAISE grant is approximately 335 days.
Almost a year, huh?
Almost a year. So we'll probably be looking at sometime in June or July to have that signed. One of the other things that I think from other communities that have gotten the RAISE grant, we've reached out to them, and the Nebraska Department of Transportation, NDOT, has helped them with the administration of the raise grant. And so we've reached out to see if they'll also be the administrator of the grant, which takes a lot of pressure off of the city.
Yeah.
So
does that, the final signing when here comes the money, does that then change the deadlines by which you have to have it allocated or spent? Because I know there was a mention by, I think Tobias said, certain days you had to actually have the money appropriated for this and that, and then spent by this date. I didn't know if that changed or
no. No, it's okay. we're still under their timeline, and under their timeline to sign the grant. So
okay,
kind of both no and no.
Yeah. What would grants be without some red tape and some regulations?
Correct.
But they're probably for good reason. But
I'm sure there's been a number of cases where it just has to be done that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else major coming up in the near future for the? I know you always kind of look out and see, is there anything on the horizon that you're going to be dealing with in the near future? Does anything come to mind, or you got plenty to deal with right now? I know that. So.
Well, we do, but we also have to remember we'll be starting cell 1 of the new landfill.
True.
And so we did see the road go in out there. It's asphalted. It's done. And I believe the Boswell meeting is going to be to pay for...
Approve one of the payments,
Approve the payment.
Yeah.
But, that's also progress.
Yeah.
I guess it's called progress because one's going to be full and shut down, and then we got to start the other one. So we'll see that probably spring-ish.
Yeah.
I look back and... haven't quite sat in this chair for 2 years, and it's been, I think, a very productive 2 years.
Yeah.
But it's been a long 2 years.
It's kind of a whirlwind of activity. You don't maybe, because you're dealing with things kind of one by one at different times, you don't really think of it as much. But then you go back and at the end of a year and you look at all what's been done and what's been going on. It's pretty amazing.
And I think one of the things that exercise, I guess, that we took at the beginning of my term was to write down, some goals that the city council like to see get accomplished. And you know what? I think we've made some pretty good progress by getting the raise grant. I think Ted and his committee have done a good job with Dempster's. There's going to be a lot to be done there, but first we need to make sure we get the property, and how do you do that financially responsible? And, I think the ordinance committee has done a pretty good job of trying to clean up the ones that they can. And you'll probably see them, looking at others in the future.
And then you have the downtown committee, which
correct.
We just talked about the project on Ella Street toward the museum, and of course the water main work, and that area will change at some point too.
Right. So yeah, we've got a lot of balls in the air at the moment.
Yep, doing a lot of juggling. Feel like you're in a circus sometimes.
Almost.
Mayor, thanks for being with us again.
All right, Doug, thank you.
We'll see you Monday night.
You bet.